For decades, the world has admired Barry Gibb, the last surviving member of the legendary Bee Gees, for his unmatched voice, songwriting brilliance, and enduring charm. But behind the fame, there's a story that has quietly followed him through the years. One that involves another icon, the incomparable Barbra Streisand. Their collaboration in the early 1980s created one of the most unforgettable musical moments of all time, blending two of the most powerful voices in history. Yet, behind the studio walls and perfect harmonies, there was a connection much deeper than anyone knew. When Barry Gibb and Barbra Streisand came together to record Guilty in 1980, fans saw two megastars at the height of their powers. What they didn't see was the profound mutual respect, admiration, and even emotional tension that developed between them. Their chemistry, captured in timeless duets like Guilty and What Kind of Fool, was undeniable. To this day, those songs remain etched in the hearts of millions who can still feel the spark that existed between them. Now, at 79, Barry Gibb is finally breaking his silence. For years, he has avoided speaking about what truly happened during that magical collaboration, the creative clashes, the late-night recording sessions, and the personal bond that blurred the line between friendship and something more. With time, perspective, and honesty, Barry Gibb is ready to tell the truth about his relationship with Barbra Streisand, the woman who challenged him, inspired him, and left a mark on his heart that not even time could erase. In 1980, the world of music witnessed something truly extraordinary, the coming together of two of the greatest voices of the 20th century. Barry Gibb of the Bee Gees and Barbra Streisand, the powerhouse vocalist and actress whose voice could fill a concert hall and break a heart in the same note. It was a collaboration that seemed destined from the start, but for Barry Gibb, it would become one of the most meaningful, artistic, and emotional partnerships of his life. By the late 1970s, Barry was already a superstar. Alongside his brothers, Robin and Maurice, he had helped define an era with Saturday Night Fever and its iconic soundtrack, songs that dominated charts and dance floors around the globe. Yet while the Bee Gees' disco sound had made history, Barry was ready for something different, something more intimate and timeless. Barbra Streisand, meanwhile, was searching for a new direction. After conquering Broadway, Hollywood, and the pop charts, she wanted an album that felt fresh, something that would combine her theatrical power with a modern sound. Her team reached out to Barry, who was known not just for his falsetto, but for his genius as a songwriter and producer. When he got the call, Barry was both flattered and nervous. "It's Barbra," he later recalled. "She's one of the greatest voices in the world. You don't just write for her, you serve the song." When the two finally met in the studio, the chemistry was instantaneous. Barbra, ever the perfectionist, wanted every lyric, every note, every harmony to be just right. Barry, with his laid-back charm and emotional instinct, approached music from the heart. Together they found a rare balance, a meeting of precision and passion. Recording Guilty was far from easy. Both were perfectionists, and creative tension often sparked between them. Barry would sometimes encourage Barbra to loosen up, to feel the music rather than control it, while she would challenge him to refine melodies and lyrical phrasing until they reached something transcendent. "We pushed each other," Barry later said with a smile. "And that's why it worked. There was fire between us. Musical fire. The results were pure magic." Songs like Guilty and What Kind of Fool captured the essence of romance and vulnerability, the push and pull between two souls who understood each other too well. Listeners around the world felt the intimacy in their performances, the unspoken connection that seemed to run deeper than friendship. Barry often admitted that singing alongside Barbra was intimidating. "Her voice is a force of nature," he said. "You don't compete with Barbra Streisand. You hold on and try to keep up." But in that challenge, he found inspiration. Barbra brought out a side of Barry he didn't know existed, more emotional, more expressive, more daring. And for Barbra, Barry's warmth and sincerity were refreshing. "He's got this incredible sensitivity," she once said. "When he sings, you can feel everything he's feeling. That's what makes him special." Behind the studio glass, something beautiful happened. Two artists learning to trust one another, to open up not just musically, but emotionally. Late at night, when the sessions stretched into the early hours, they'd talk about life, love, fame, and the price of both. Barry admired Barbra's focus and discipline, while she admired his humility and humor. She was intense, Barry said years later, but she had a laugh that could light up the whole room. When Guilty was released, it became an instant success, topping charts worldwide and winning a Grammy. But for Barry, the album's true reward wasn't the fame or the accolades. It was the connection he made with Barbra, one that would stay with him long after the spotlight dimmed. As he would later reflect, working with Barbra wasn't just about making music. It was about understanding another soul, and that's something I'll never forget. As the sessions for Guilty continued, it became clear that Barry Gibb and Barbra Streisand shared something far deeper than professional chemistry. Both were perfectionists, both had weathered the storms of fame, and both carried the quiet loneliness that often follows success. In the studio, those similarities created a kind of unspoken bond, one that neither of them expected but both came to treasure. Recording days often stretched late into the night. Barbra, ever meticulous, demanded multiple takes until each note matched the emotion she wanted to convey. Barry, usually a spontaneous artist, found himself adapting to her methods and learning from them. "She made me dig deeper," he once said. Barbra has this ability to make you feel like every song is the most important one you'll ever sing. But what surprised everyone, even them, was how naturally their voices intertwined. There was a warmth, an intimacy, that no producer could have planned. During the duet sessions for Guilty and What Kind of Fool, the two didn't just sing together. They communicated. Every glance, every harmony, every pause carried emotional weight. "It was like we were telling a story," Barry said. "A love story, one that felt real, even if it wasn't." Behind the microphone, Barbra often teased Barry for his soft-spoken nature. "You're too polite, Barry," she'd laugh. "You've got to boss me around once in a while." Barry would smile and reply, "I could never boss you around, Barbra. You're the boss of everything." The playful banter lightened the mood during intense sessions, but under the humor, there was genuine affection, the kind that develops when two people truly understand each other's creative soul. Still, their relationship wasn't without tension. Barbra's drive for perfection occasionally clashed with Barry's instinctual style. "She wanted to analyze every note," Barry recalled. "I wanted to feel it and move on. But somehow our approaches balanced each other. In those creative disagreements, something magical happened. The songs became richer, more layered, more human." There were also moments of quiet connection that no one else witnessed. After a long recording night, the studio would empty out, leaving just the two of them under the dim glow of the control room lights. They'd listen back to their takes in silence, occasionally exchanging a look that said everything words couldn't. "Sometimes," Barry later admitted, "you don't need to say anything. You just know that something special is happening." It wasn't romance in the traditional sense. It was deeper. A meeting of minds, an emotional duet between two artists who saw in each other what few others could see. Barbra once described Barry as one of the kindest souls she had ever met. And Barry in turn said that Barbra had this aura, powerful, commanding, but also deeply vulnerable. Their closeness didn't go unnoticed. During interviews, fans and journalists would often comment on their chemistry, asking if there was more to their relationship than music. Barry would laugh it off, saying, "It's all in the songs." But privately, he knew there was truth behind those rumors, not in romance, but in connection. When Guilty finally released, it became a phenomenon. The album sold millions, and their duet performances melted hearts around the world. The public saw two glamorous stars in perfect harmony, but what they didn't see were the countless hours of work, the laughter, the late-night talks, and the mutual respect that made the magic possible. In the years that followed, Barry and Barbra's friendship endured. They didn't see each other often, but when they did, it was as if no time had passed. Whenever they reunited, even decades later, that same spark resurfaced. Looking back, Barry once said, "Barbra brought something out of me that no one else could." She reminded me that music isn't just sound, it's emotion, it's trust. And once you share that with someone, it never really goes away. After the phenomenal success of Guilty in 1980, Barry Gibb and Barbra Streisand went their separate ways, each returning to their own worlds, their own empires of sound and fame. Yet, despite the distance, the connection they had forged in that studio never faded. For Barry, those sessions had been more than just another collaboration. They had been a rare emotional and creative awakening. As the 1980s unfolded, the Bee Gees faced shifting trends. Disco, the very sound. And grace, proof that time could deepen what art began. When Guilty Pleasures released in 2005, it resonated deeply with fans who remembered the magic of the original. It wasn't just an album, it was a reunion of hearts, two icons reconnecting not for fame, but for the love of music itself. After that project, Barry and Barbra would once again go their separate ways, but they stayed in touch. Barbra would send him kind messages. Barry would occasionally write her letters of gratitude. "She'll always be special to me," Barry said in an interview decades later. Because in that studio, we weren't just making records. We were making memories that would last forever. And even now, when Barry hears "What Kind of Fool" or "Guilty" on the radio, he smiles quietly. "That's us," he says. Two voices that found each other in time and left something beautiful behind. As Barry Gibb grew older, his life began to slow down, but his reflections deepened. When he spoke in interviews, there was a sense of peace, the wisdom of a man who had seen incredible highs and unimaginable losses. And through all of it, one name continued to bring a soft light to his eyes: Barbra Streisand. "Some people leave a mark on your life without even trying," Barry once said during a BBC interview. Barbra was one of those people. She didn't just change how I made music, she changed how I felt about it. By the 2010s, Barry had become the last surviving Gibb brother, carrying the Bee Gees' legacy alone. He was performing again, but each concert was more of a tribute to his brothers, to his wife Linda, and to the artists who had shaped him. Among them, Barbra held a unique place. "When you sing with someone like Barbra, you realize how rare it is to truly connect through sound," he said. "That kind of magic only happens once in a lifetime." Even Barbra, known for her strong and independent persona, would often smile when his name came up. "Barry's heart is as golden as his voice," she said in a 2016 interview. "He understood me, not just as a singer, but as a person. That's why our music still feels alive." Their friendship had outlasted time, distance, and fame. It wasn't built on publicity or the machinery of Hollywood. It was built on respect and artistry. Behind the glitter of awards and accolades, there was a quiet loyalty between them. They never needed to prove their bond. It was understood, almost sacred. In one of his last major interviews, Barry recalled a story from the Guilty sessions. She was singing a line from Woman in Love, and she wasn't satisfied. She kept asking for another take. After the 10th one, I told her, "Barbra, you've already sung it perfectly." And she looked at me and said, "Barry, there's no such thing as perfect. There's only better." He laughed softly. That's Barbra, always reaching higher. It was that relentless pursuit of excellence that both inspired and haunted Barry. Long after their sessions ended, he carried her voice with him, that unmistakable tone, both powerful and fragile. It reminded him of what music could be when two artists gave everything without ego, only emotion. As he aged into his late 70s, Barry began to write less for the charts and more for himself. Simple, introspective songs filled with gratitude. "I don't write to be famous anymore," he said. "I write to remember." Among those memories, Barbra stood as one of the few constants, not a chapter of his life, but a theme that ran through it. When asked what Guilty meant to him decades later, Barry didn't hesitate. "It was love," he said. "Not romantic love, but creative love. The kind that pushes you to be better, that makes you see yourself differently." That album was a love letter, to music, to connection, to friendship. Barbra, too, spoke fondly of their journey. In a tribute video celebrating Barry's lifetime achievements, she said, "Working with Barry was effortless. It's rare to find that kind of chemistry. It's like finding the perfect harmony in a world of noise. And that harmony, once captured in the grooves of vinyl, became eternal." Guilty wasn't just a hit record. It was a symbol of what happens when two artists trust each other enough to let their souls speak. Today, as fans revisit their songs, there's a sense of nostalgia that transcends generations. Young listeners discover their duets and feel the same electricity that audiences did decades ago. Their voices, his warm and textured, hers commanding and pure, remain timeless. For Barry, that's the legacy he cherishes most. "You don't measure a career by how many hits you've had," he said softly. "You measure it by the people who changed your heart along the way." Barbra was one of those people. She always will be. In the quiet of his home, surrounded by guitars, family photos, and gold records, Barry sometimes plays their old tracks. The melody fills the room, and for a moment, it's as if time bends. He's back in that studio again with Barbra by his side. Two voices finding perfection in imperfection. The music fades, but the memory lingers. And as long as their songs are heard, the bond between Barry Gibb and Barbra Streisand will remain, not just as history, but as proof that some collaborations aren't just made in studios. They're made in the heart.